Analo, how are these permits given for an building?
Yeah, thank you, Trevor. I think because of lack of enough time, I will not go into history. But however, allow me to mention two things. One, there has been a tremendous change in the precipitation history of the city of Nairobi. The downflow that we are seeing over time has tremendously changed, and I think is important for people to take note of that. And then secondly, we must also take note that from around 1992, that's when we started losing our city in terms of development trends, in terms of development control. We had illegal allocation of title deeds into the river. We have irregular land grabbing in sections of the city, and this was politicized, and we had settlements being created there. Most of these settlements are sitting on riparian land. For example, a large percent of Kibera settlement is encroaching on Nairobi Dam. That is not something that happened 2 months ago. The settlements that you have in Mathare that are sitting on Mathare River, the Kibagares, did not happen 3 years ago, Trevor. There has been a historical failure in terms of observing of certain standards and requirements in managing the city. But we are not here to really discuss that. The issue we are facing here today is one, what are we doing to address the current challenge? I think that is what the chief officer has responded to. I would like to add that the city has developed a new what you call urban resilience strategy that is comprehensive, that is integrated. The people who are being affected by floods are not just people in the houses alone. We have kids who are coming from school who are delaying to get home. We have people getting stuck in traffic, even if it's not flooded. I mean, it must be comprehensive and integrated. The issues that Jerotich is raising, for example, public health issues, lighting and so on and so forth. Back to your question, Trevor, about approvals. I think, again, because of lack of time, I would like to separate issues. There's a very clear procedure on processing of development applications. We have a national legislation which is called the Physical and Land Use Planning Act, that is very recent, is formulated in 2019. And then at the county level, each county have their own relevant localized county legislations that guide development control. For the city of Nairobi, we still rely on the Building Code of 1968, and then the Physical and Land Use Planning Act of 2019, and a number of area policies that I would say are outdated, and we're in pursuit of upgrading them, or rather having a new framework to guide developments within the 20 traditional development districts of the city of Nairobi.
So you don't think this is a leadership failure, like say you were saying?
I think, Trevor, if you ask me again, thank you that I'm here particularly as an urban planner. Of course, there is politics in urban management and development, but for the city of Nairobi, we must be able to separate issues in terms of where we have had failure in terms of urban management, and I trace it back to 1992, of course, at the advent of multi-party politics. Yeah. For example, let me raise the issue of the buildings that are partly, for example, Kiricho Kubwa, that we had a challenge yesterday. The property was developed in the 90s. It has a title deed. It had clearance from Water and Resource Authority. So if, Trevor, you have a title deed, of course, it has been carved partly into the river, that your approval is processed in the 90s, is granted, and then the river courses change over time, and that's why I made reference to precipitation. Yeah. So this particular time, Kericho River has flooded and has affected a section of those development at the elite court. Mm-hmm. In parklands, the same thing. So I think it's important to separate governance issues. Of course, we are as a city where we welcome constructive criticisms that can help us to improve our systems. Yeah. But I think it's also important to put this conversation into
But as an urban planner yourself, you know there are several high-rise buildings that are coming up in this regime.
Yes.
And then there's also the plan to expand the sewage and the drainage lines.
Yes.
Which one comes first? Aren't you supposed to expand the sewer line first before the buildings come up?
Trevor,
or the buildings coming up, then the sewer line?
Yeah, Trevor, I think, for example, we've discussed the question of Mukuru. If you ask the guy who is not able to sleep in the house today in Mukuru, whether they will want to be somewhere to put their head down. They will tell you that, I would rather have somewhere to sleep tonight. That's a very complex question. It's a chicken and egg question. Of course, the ideal situation is first to have infrastructure, and then you put developments in place. But you have a city that is barely 60 years old, a growing population, a stressed urban municipal budget in terms of development control planning and land use planning. Then you have sections of the city that are informal in terms of land ownership. It becomes even a challenge to regulate them as a legal entity. You have sections that are in the hands of criminal gangs. So I think if you ask me, strictly speaking, we chew the gum as we walk.
Okay.